Is that the end of group 3?
Point at the camera, at the speaker. Point at over the speaker.
Okay, group 4? Group 4? Group 4?
There are other people, persons that.
Okay, all other visitors, could you,
Social and Behavioral Sciences Caribbean Research Center, also affiliated with one of our regional Caribbean diasporas, individuals, use that also for Caribbean Research Center.
So let's shut it down.
Let each of the students get up and make your presence felt.
Stand up.
Yes.
anybody else?
It's part of your training.
You can lift it up. Just take your hand and push it up.
Okay, could we give a round of
See that thing on the
applause to
speaker? Then you turn up or down,
There
loosen
are
it.
6 more persons out here.
Okay, now you can move it up and down.
Professor,
Get your hand on it up and down.
you
Get
put
your hand on it up.
My name is Jennifer Searle. I'm an English major, creative writing, and I work on in Caribbean Research Center as I'm in everything.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Derek Smith. I'm the Dean of Civil Affairs here at the Business College, former faculty member in the School of Science and Technology.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Asha Edwards-Newton. I'm the Mesgar College Student Government Association President, and I'm a science major.
Okay, transmitted. Point it at the person to speak.
I'm Nelson Coelho, Caribbean Research Center, Administrative Coordinator.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Claude Beach. I am with the New American Chamber of Commerce here in Brooklyn, 26 Court Street. They asked me to come to this session.
young ladies. Come on, folks. Quickly.
My name is Cindy Charles. I'm the president of the business, and I go to my dad.
Don't listen to it. This is not live.
Good morning. My name is Katie Zami. I'm an education.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yeah, go ahead. Please. That's the end of the introduction. You sing?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Long Donald. I'm head of the Dr. Oscar name. Singer, songwriter, hold up, big man, entertainment.
big round of applause for everyone. At this time, we're going to break up into groups. For continuation of the program.
This thing keeps going good and bad, good and bad, good and bad.
I have to consult with my leader. I understand that we have rooms assigned to us, which is listed on the program. Group 1 will remain in this area. Group 2, first floor, art room. Group 3, third floor, teacher's lounge. And fourth group, E.O. Jackson Auditorium, first floor. This is 13.
One change we made, see if we can accommodate
Instead of taking the movies, not doing it well. If you need to move, do it like that. And using your phone.
She's upstairs.
What's fine in my house? It's not moving. Where's my breakfast? I know you're both cold and so.
The economic well-being of any area is very, very, very important. It's very pivotal to how you live.
So we have 4 presentations, right?
much want that happening because I think you want to cancel it if you're streaming campus.
But when he come up here, so good.
Kind of personalized situation. As long as we're looking at it, not seeing it as a historical movement, and historical, it has roots. Which way back in like the early 60s, the Robert Moses was taking
You taking this one?
James actually stopped really driven.
This one. So, whichever is easier, I think this thing. And then
Very line.
here.
Way back, having something in the car.
We leave this one here. And we take that one. Yeah, that's what
How are you?
So one yeah.
What banks are there? What credit unions are there? If possible, how many mortgage companies? What are the figures that support the practice of credit?
We don't have time for raise back.
She doesn't have
Yeah, I know the settings. I'm just shaking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they know you.
You're going to switch operation every part? You're going to be able to pick up the audio?
I use a remote microphone.
Okay.
Yeah. This thing works fine in the house.
Doesn't work so well there?
No. No, it's not moving.
Yeah, you're connected. You're connected to me, so it'll be fine. So you want me to wait till you get set up before I take this off, or you want me to just...
Okay. Yes, where is this? There's a tripod and a tripod. And the thing is deceased, there's a microphone. Long and skinny. Pictures and stuff.
Labor. So then the residents encouraged money to sell the property. And then in turn,
Carroll Street. That would be fine.
All the urban, you're shaking your head, but you don't understand. I'm going to tell you something that you got to understand what this is about. It's not just about education. This is about this person of meeting this acting as military planning behind this. Because of all the disruptions that took place in the city, it's not just about education. It's personal of certain things of the were able to forming urban disruption.
Let's see if this
Extrapolate. Control. Rick. The other group is right on tonight. The controller has come more than once and says one of the things we have the pension fund to be diversified. Why? Because pension funds sometimes are used to invest in development that are happening. So it's a system of systems. So the question is, who is on the planning board? Who gets to name these boards? You need to know all of this in order to be able to put your in where they need to be. And voted for need to ensure. No point in a report if I haven't thought through the strategies to make change happen. Right? And the change is all about the Benjamins. Who controls the money? So if we know that these are the only banks, and we know that these banks, for example, have a community advisory board, but there's nobody from any of these districts on any of those boards,
Is it, as further guidance for us, is it possible to try to select objective for this somehow?
okay. I'm assuming based on how Mr. Dr. Stewart has organized it, he wants an output which says, for chapter 1, some kind of history and an objective, and I don't have that information, and the people who wrote that are not here. Chapter 2 is justification under the judicial system. I don't know if anybody's here from that book. My assumption is that person would have gone in and said, here is what has happened in this area in the last 10 to 15, 20 years. Have there been cases filed? What has been the outcome? Yes. So it's like a historical background in which you're going to form your action items, right? So the objective of this session is to collect that information on where we are and what's missing. When we come back after lunch, we'll have thought about all you have heard and come up with some action items based on what we have discovered missing versus what is our vision. Now, I personally want to make sure we leave here with some kind of collective vision. We're not going to do that right now. We're going to extract the data. But when I come back after lunch, I want us first to step into the future of what it is we want it to look like. And then we come back and decide what action has to happen. And I think we need to look at the next election cycle or next 2 elections per cycle because most people have 2 terms, right? And then we say, okay, if I vote for this person, at the end of their term, I would like to see at least this happen. Now, in order to get there, what do we need to do in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next year? Furthermore, this is a small grant. If we have to get additional funds to strengthen this process and to institutionalize this process, what are the actual action items to do that? And how then will you know what are the activities and people and tasks that the workforce, so that the task force that come under this group have to do. So hopefully on this, out of this thing, you will have people leaving here saying, I'm willing to put 2 hours a week, or 3 hours a week, or 4 hours a week. This is no point in come and say, I have an issue and you complain and you go away. One of the things you also want to ask is, what are you willing to do in terms of time to help move the process forward? Otherwise, this is like pointless.
If you want, I can do my presentation now.
Yes.
First of all, we got to ask ourselves the question: is there a problem in the particular community that we're dealing with? And the particular community we're dealing with, and where Mesgar is located, is part of the 9th Congressional District, and the incumbent is, of course, Peter Clark. And
No. For one.
huh?
For one.
Congressional District.
Yeah, but what that is, this is municipal.
No, Congressional District, CD. Yeah.
Yeah, but
We here are part of the 9th Congressional District.
yeah, but jurisdiction. We're talking about 10%.
Yeah. I'm getting to that.
But he's responding to
I'm responding. I'm just saying we have a problem in this area. And what are we talking? We have to have a physically defined area. Now we're dealing with an area that consists of the following districts: Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, Leopard Garden, Borough Park, Flatbush, East Flatbush, Canarsie, Brownsville, and East New York. It's a fascinating area in many respects. This is an area that is about 60% Caribbean and about 40% African American. About 30% African American, 10% Hispanic. So it's a very ethnically diverse, very interesting area. And myself, Waldebur, Una, and whatnot were involved in this area years ago as community activists. So we're kind of familiar with the problems on a very basic level. Now, if you have a problem in an area, in a physically defined area, the question is, how do you respond to this problem? Now, from my experience, there are 3 ways you can respond to a problem. You can respond by agitation, by legislation, and by litigation. Now, most of us start out as street agitators, community activists. We go marching and things like that, and at precincts and at City Hall and things like that, making demands. This is the first aspect of a response, agitation. Then sometimes agitation gets you to a certain level. It might get you to open the doors to City Hall. But then the mayor might come and say, hey, what's your plan? What's your strategic plan? What do you guys really want? And very often we're caught flat-footed if we don't have people like the Clay Nelsons and whatnot to come up with a strategic plan to how to deal with the situation. So the community activists are very important because they get out in the streets and they rouse the community, and so they create a consciousness, like how the Haitians would march over, in the Louima case, they marched over the Brooklyn Bridge. There's about 500,000 of them, and they rocked the doors of City Hall. And so the mayor had to come out and say, what do you people want? And sometimes when you reach this stage, you didn't think about it. Oh my God. He wants us to leave a strategic paper that they can work on. We forgot that in our enthusiasm at agitation. So after agitation, you go to very often legislation. Very often when you get your elected officials, they're going to put something in writing in the city council and make a demand. For example, we were involved in the Central Park job case, and we were asking for $1 million settlement, and it was going nowhere. And then Charles Barron came and he introduced legislation. He was the head of the
Anyway, we are looking at economic contribution of professionals and business leaders to the area. And what I'm really going to do is really give you a sense as to what it is that we plan to do. Okay. We are actually looking at this subject from the perspective. The first is that we want to develop techniques for skills assessment of career management as a way secondly, do you want to measure the impact of Caribbean economic activities on the community development in the center of Brooklyn? Now, just a couple questions that we will be asking proceed with this study. First, we want to look at how do Caribbean migrants navigate the American work culture. And the reason we are doing that because we recognize that as immigrants, even though we may have the capabilities, abilities, experience, and certification, because we do not know how properly navigate the system, we are at a disadvantage. So we want to look at that, because one of the things we want to know, we want to know how best can they integrate themselves into the system. We also want to look at how useful are Caribbean credentials in accessing suitable employment in the greater area. And what networks are being used by Caribbean migrants to facilitate their incorporation in the American society. We also will be looking at what is the nature of Caribbean business engagements in target regions. Right now we are doing, of course, data in a general sense that we look at immigrants in general. But we have not reached a point yet when we have extrapolated information, worked it down into character.
And so that's one, the Carnival-based organization. And
But
we know
if we were to just
Labor Day is starting
glance at some of the data
next year. And
that in a general sense, we know that, for example, more than 1.9 million foreign workers are employed in New York City.
I'm the founder of one of those.
And we also, that's interesting. We also know that the number of immigrants owning homes in New York have doubled, for example, in 1991 and 2008. W Plateau has a lot of that regarding the areas, the target areas that we will look at. So we will be extrapolated from the information that we have, both from looking at the educational profile of Caribbean immigrants, looking at their occupational areas, we'll be looking at how
I think so, because you know what? I think for the next 10 to 15 years,
correct?
and this
And
is why
there are other assets that
we have a current exhibition
drawing on say something about their contribution to the development. So in a broad sense, that is what we are doing. We have not yet gotten more of drawings that we can highlight.
the market, they had a market just like how we had the Clayton market, Monterey. They had, they talked to us about.
Yeah, we're drawing, actually.
They had some, like,
when you talk about economic development,
Caribbean or Puerto
it's
Rican
across.
way source in Williamsburg, and they petitioned newcomers.
Briefly summarize your question.
So it's not only the
First presentation,
and the gender,
in my opinion,
because you know what,
definitely
they're very politically active. And another story that they told us is that
economic impact, real estate.
Some of the new particular places that would get costs
very crucial.
from the market, they were complaining about the noise, the music that was playing that had been a part of that community, and they complained. They came in and found it. They so I absolutely think, I also think
Rosters played a tremendous role in businesses. Beauty parlors,
what's your suggestion? That you think it should move?
cake shops, and all types of businesses.
I think, or if it does, I think it should come up. I mean, that's enough.
Much data is interesting.
But, because I understand the museum is a huge part of it. But I
And
think
the buildings.
You can go down Utica, you can go across Empire, even though Empire is very justified. You can go down Flatbush Avenue.
The rosters,
there are other
sorry, the
places
remittances,
more heavily Caribbean.
that's very
And
strong.
it'll feel
Haiti,
more-
of course, Guyana, and Jamaica, and all that.
I can understand your point.
Again, that's
And I just want to bring this up real quick. I represent the, like I mentioned earlier, the Day of Independence Committee of Panamanian in New York. For the past 21 years, we organized the parade on Franklin Avenue.
That was just a
And
few weeks ago.
yes, And then when it first started, it used to start all the way down in the library at Franklin Avenue, over Atlantic Avenue, and end up at President Street. And for the past couple of years, they've been shrinking. Now it started at Bergen Street and end at President Street. So yes, I can understand what your point that we might end up losing. And it's because if we don't organize ourselves, and I believe that this forum right here is, that's the answer. We have to come together as one to try to make sure that we keep our culture, our heritage. Because yes, they are complaining about the noise, they are complaining that every little thing bad that happened, they blame it on the West Indians.
My first,
Without meaning, yeah, that's just one day.
And what is it, 25,000?
you
You know, so
knowing the fact
yes,
that
I
we
can
are
understand that, but
gentrification,
it is up to us now, as a group, to really
are we
push
just going to collect
to
this data
not only identify what we are
for our
representing,
own knowledge,
but also to come.
or do we have a plan
Sure that they're,
in place,
our culture, our
or
history
perceive or thinking about
represented.
a way by which to come to leverage
Because I remember.
How's it going to be leveraged?
I remember when I first came to this country, and this is not a long time ago, 1986. They used to say, you can't walk in Franklin Avenue. Oh, it's dangerous. At night. Oh, no, you cannot. But as the time goes by, we have noticed that Franklin Avenue is becoming more commercialized.
It's the most gentrified corridor in America. It's fastest.
And it's growing like this. Exactly.
And Franklin was rough back in the day. It was rougher than parts of
all of those stories are coming up. And then they feel like, okay, so why are we having this parade in Franklin? Because nobody here represents the Panamanian community. So why are we having this? But y'all came into the neighborhood and find us here. We've been part of this neighborhood for a long time, but now you want to change it and push us out. Most of my own people advise, oh no, we should do the parade to Flatbush. Yes, it could be, but guess what? If we move to Flatbush Avenue, we end up losing it. And that's what I've been trying to tell my people. We would lose it. And that's why that point that you mentioned that you feel like moving the West Indian Parade from the Eastern Parkway, if you move it from Eastern Parkway, we lose it. Because eventually you move it to, they're going to say, but wait a minute, why are you coming here? We don't represent you.
Across the street from him. There's no way.
Lennox and Northland right now. Sorry,
so if we keep moving there and you move, they would want you to move further.
And Lennox and Platt and Northland right now, they're putting up a building that I hear is 21.
Oh yeah, Lennox and Northland, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, hello living.
And I say to myself, once that building is open up, eventually Lennox is going to change. You're going to see that. And if you move it from Eastern Parkway and you put it in Flatbush, then the commerce and Flatbush complain we're losing business because of the parade. And then they're going to have another, then you're going to move down.
That's so cool.
You know, so
that's why I said it's kind of my personal opinion, and I understand the other ramifications. You know, so many. So yeah, but I just think that because you have commercial pockets still that represent certain businesses, that there could be some more economic sort of benefits for moving it just makes sense. I feel like we'll feel more like, I used to play math for many years in Trinidad, St. Lucia, St. Matthew, St. Lucia, in Guadeloupe. I've been to a lot of carnivals. And a carnival is not a straight shot. I also think that it's not a carnival. It's not a carnival. because you have Haitians, you know, who are just there being like, I'm Haitian, you have people, I'm Jamaican, they're not playing that. Carnival is it's a parade, or it's a cultural celebration because it's really about and there's that one day a year that you decide you want to be Caribbean, it's Caribbean in New York. It's almost like a flag or a country parade of a particular
The difference in that not every Jamaican you bring the same back. But not all.
There was also a bank that was open in
And they stopped that.
Brooklyn.
Culturally.
Credit union.
Are we moving away or are we just hiding?
Yeah, Central Brooklyn.
When we talk about, you know, we're disappearing, or when you say we're no longer in this community, is it that we're...
Another way. Go ahead.
That's the word I'm looking for. Are we moving away to other cities? Or to other parts of the city? Or are we holding back our culture while somebody else dominates? What are we doing? We're selling out.
You have a building that you bought in the 70s that you paid $20,000 for. It's worth now $1 million plus. Someone walking off the bag of money and off these is selling out.
Yeah,
because
a lot of
people are getting older too, like that generation are older, they're retiring and they're going back home, or they want to move to Florida.
Especially the houses. Like that building I just talked, that building I spoke about there, that building, they moved.
And you can't get that. Right. They're not selling it. You made all the time. I don't have a bag of money. I have to go to the bank.
It worked well for a couple of years.
I will tell you exactly, and I'm okay to put it this way. We, West Indian descendants and stuff, blacks, we have a piece of land. We don't have a plan for the future of our kids and grandkids and stuff like that. We will not bring them in to make sure that this stay in common. What we would rather do, we don't educate our kids. So our kids branch out and they're going on their own. By the time we reach a certain age, we sell this piece of land and we move on. Just like you just mentioned, we're giving up our legacy. Yes, exactly.
And then when you want to come back.
But the Italians, they make sure that you stay right here.
It's worth $1 million. Exactly.
I just want to amplify your point about market forces. If you bought a house, I'll give a case in point. I bought a house on St. John's Place, $33,000. My partner eventually got it, and we just put up for sale right off Franklin Avenue. Put for sale. All right. So unless you have put down down payment, are you going to be able to buy that house and eventually be paid literally thousands and thousands of dollars a month?
Just because
I also think that we have to look at some choices.
Our grandparents feel like they went through hardship to get
Many of
here,
us,
so they don't want you to go through the same thing. So like we want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, and somebody don't involve yourself with this because this is not what you should do.
And white people have decided to give a priority to this. All right? So the question that worthwhile asking, why is it that we seem to need to have the validation of another race of people to recognize where we live has a certain value to it? We had Harlem, we had Bed-Stuy, we had Crum Heights. All right? You go to Franklin Avenue and you will see a big piece of place that has been put in there.
Because you don't have no identity.
Millennials, that they call them, hanging out in there. Well, we had it at some point, and I can understand why. For example, if I sell that house and somebody is willing to give me $2 million for it, I might say, I don't care what you look like, I'm going to take the money and run. So
there has to be a commitment, Kelly. I've never saw stuff my mom never believed.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you sell it, it's not going to be backwards. part of your community until the people vote.
They show you the money and they expect you to jump at it and you get out of here.
The essential difference is just, I mean, we don't have that much thing that there'll be an apartment there. And I'm quite positive that in the market, father is parents, we are, it's also, we are not prepared for the market because so you know that's why it is situation is so complex with competition and but that is competition then speed up
Do you guys know if we identified any
support
other
sharing
location with a migrant, with an immigrant, Caribbean immigrant population such as Brooklyn, and see how they're handling similar issues?
I mean, they definitely, they have their little hate. Probably not as, I don't think it's as diverse. Yeah, it's Cuban, Haitian, Jamaican, I would say the biggest part.
And I think the mood of transportation also is so in terms of we're not into when it comes to food and Florida and stuff.
We don't interact.
Yeah, we interact, we meet each other on the train, we walk. And yeah, it's a different kind of ambiance.
The reason I'm wondering is because I think two others, the population needs of transportation, just living ones.
It's more than that.
That I've
He got an award.
About preserving the culture. Rio Babo. Right? There's a sense of urgency in Rio Babo right now. So that's why I'm wondering if, you know, the overall, the director, right, was able to pinpoint, let's say,
So it's an
the
experiment
UK or even London has a very similar makeup to Brooklyn. And I know for a fact they're facing the same issues. There is a sense of urgency in all of these communities to preserve legacy. So I would be curious to know what organizations, or even a similar thing like this, what they found and how they're combating those issues.
I think with their population and as far as preserving it, I guess if you find what's like essential healthcare, the essential there, so there's no healthcare is a big component of that. So that's why in Brooklyn, you know, people get denied for insurance. They need healthcare, they can't really get it. Cancer, Toronto, Canada, that's free. There's no sense of moving out here and getting it for free there.
Cool, so you guys want me to finish?
Yes, please, sorry.
I have 4 more slides. So we're talking about the cultural lens. So the first one we identified were environmental-based and multidisciplinary. There's also community and country-based organizations. So you have the St. Michel
It's not going to benefit the community. It's not
organizations. So a lot of them are kind of broken out by country and or interests, right? And then they're also discipline-based organizations. So the premise is that it's fragmented, that we're all over the place. So we're saying, okay, we should unify, but we're still very fragmented because people are organizing around their interests and or their country. So the disciplines might be around film, around books, around theater, dance is a huge category. And I find that dance is one of probably the most organized and vibrant in terms of culture. And even when we do dance events, and we were just invited again by another museum to do dance events, they tend to be, or even in terms of social, it tends to be, even we posted something about Peter and his reggae chefs and his event, and it was a post that people really enjoyed. They really enjoyed dance. So the next slide is a case study. I did it on ourselves. So, you know, our mission is about, and we're multidisciplinary. It's about the Caribbean experience through film, art, and culture. A lot of what we're finding is a lot of youth or parents are very interested in the work that we do because with that preservation piece. And we do work a lot with large institutions. So part of our strength is by partnering with organizations like Brooklyn Museum, Brooklyn Historical Society. We've done work with the Museum, Tribeca Film Festival, Brooklyn College.
Other than the bank,
Partnerships that we've had. We're starting to be invited to do more. We've also got international programs in plans and we've done part of those. We are funded by city, state, and some corporate partnerships.
I think that's something we would have on the radar. We might.
Within 36 months, continue strong things that they work. On Labor Day, people want a lot of figures.
Next door neighbor is when you
We think about so last year we opened the Arts and Cultural Center at the Slot machine container. Yeah, so it's a shipping container that we had customized and we moved it around. Yeah, you should come in. So we hold book readings, we have lines, monthly hangouts. We've done music and dance performances. Last weekend we had a Sudoku workout class, which people love. And we also, it's becoming an incubator of sorts for emerging talent. So a lot of people are saying, hey, I want to launch for this.
Go downtown to the county clerk's office and find out who really owns.
And we've moved it around 3 times. So we've moved to Greenpoint in May, we were at the Brooklyn Museum for 13,000 people in August, and then the Flatbush Motion Junction, they had a Caribbean block party, and we moved it there as well. But we're staying put until next year.
You said you're staying put at Cape Town.
Yes, we're not moving it again because someone has a lot of money. It's a lot of work to move that. So we've also been making the case for Little Caribbean, so that's the map. And it's been recorded in the news, magazines, other sources. It's being sort of worked into the Caribbean way, which is fine with us. But a lot of why we did that is because of the gentrification. And I think those ways, the thing runs very, very different. And if we don't
Opening up the capital, we have to be compete with them. And the social media is working for everyone. Everybody's doing socially, but only a few capturing the social. So we're going to put you to work pulling some of that research.
Quick question. What is the role of the churches? How should churches feeding the poor and businesses? How's the church relative to the race? Abyssinian Baptist and Allen AME has nursing homes. They've got
right. Mall. They had a school. Yeah.
But sometimes you focus on the ones that are doing really well, and the majority are not.
Right. That's the.
They are struggling, and
yes. Yes. And the city is not helping, by the way, because a lot of them or they're falling behind and paying property taxes or something. So just as our individual homes are on the line, some of our nonprofit institutions are behind the gate in terms of keeping up with fees and
so that negates what? That negates wealth negatively, right? If they fall behind, the wealth is negated, right?
yes, absolutely.
There is a change. Yes. First, the bank, every bank in the community, we are the one who bring the dollars. To bring the the ballots for them to operate on Monday. Point blank.
Okay.
Now, with regard to the policies with the tax exemptions, there are new policies in place to reduce the privilege that we have. And at first, what they did is the water was we were exempted from paying water, but certain church, certain areas, not across the board in Brooklyn, certain areas the pastors have to pay water. So it's a work in process until that's what they have in mind. I don't know when in a few years to come. And that's Hillary Clinton's plan, to stop certain cultural events or predominant cultural things, and also the church. Because there was a movement behind that said if a church should be regarded as a business, and if everyone else is paying tax, so the church must be taxed as well. And they started already. A lot of churches already closed because when they visit the church, we don't have money, and they say, well, you need a fire extinguisher. That's the first thing they do.
Right, building code.
A building code. Yeah, vision system. Okay, and that's how they shut a lot of churches. Every month, more than 50 churches have been closed. And in our, not here in Brooklyn, but in Brooklyn, maybe 10, 5.
Every month?
Every month, yes. They just changed names.
Even the major denominations.
Yes.
I'm Episcopalian, and our church, it's old in the Republic, in Georgia, and needs a lot of work, and they're threatening to close it. They closed the one in Hempstead, and
Yes. So I'm not talking even Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, whereas hundreds of churches are closing every month. And one second, we have a...
So we need some type of collective fund so that those repairs can be made, remove those code violations.
Most of the black credit unions, they were outgrown from the black church. Very few of those credit unions survived. Why? Because
Right.
even though it was in the name of the church,
Right.
they did not connect. And some of them did not connect with the leaders of the church. And it created a downward spiral. So I bring up that whole notion of
Have you done research on it? You seem to know about it. I'm just curious. Oh, okay. All right. Wow.
Like I served on a black credit union board that was created by a church, and basically it was church members who, would call up and get special treatment.
Right.
They're in
That's
emergency.
where it breaks down. I think that's what happened with the credit union in the U.S.
Then at the end of the day, they're not playing black credit union. They'll play Chase, or they'll play Fargo before they play the black credit union.
That happened to Carver.
And that happened to Paragon. The Paragon Mutual.
Paragon,
yes.
That's why they went under.
Yeah, because what happened with Paragon is that its members and people who were responsive to what it had done from the 30s, they began to seek out services from the white-owned banks. By the late 70s, the white banks were prepared.
Second generation?
Yes. By the late 70s, Paragon was in trouble, and by the early 1980s, it was out of business.
Now, was it a similar situation where people that had loans with Paragon
That was part of the problem, but the other part of the problem is that people weren't going to Paragon as they had done before, because you had Chase and you had Chemical and manufacturers that